George Strait's story begins far from bright lights and sold-out arenas, rooted instead in the quiet rhythms of rural Texas. Born on May 18, 1952, in Poteet, Texas, and raised in the small town of Pearsall, Strait grew up on his family's cattle ranch, where responsibility came early and hard work was simply part of life. Long days under the sun shaped his discipline, humility, and appreciation for tradition, values that would later define both the man and the music. Country music wasn't a career plan at first. It was something felt, rather than chased. As a teenager, Strait played in a garage band, absorbing the classic sounds of Merle Haggard, George Jones, and Hank Williams. Those influences didn't just inspire him musically, they gave him a blueprint for honesty and storytelling. Even before fame entered the picture, Strait was already becoming the kind of artist who didn't need flash, only truth. The Army years and a love that anchored. His life after graduating high school, George Strait enlisted in the United States Army in 1971, a decision that further shaped his sense of duty and perspective. Stationed in Hawaii, he joined an Army-sponsored band called Ramblin' Country, where he gained his first real experience performing live. It wasn't glamorous, but it was formative. Those shows taught him how to connect with an audience without theatrics, relying solely on voice and sincerity. During this same period, Strait married his high school sweetheart, Norma, in a quiet elopement in Mexico. Their marriage became the emotional backbone of his life, offering stability in an industry often defined by chaos. Norma stayed out of the spotlight, and Strait respected that boundary, choosing family over fame whenever possible. That unwavering partnership allowed him to pursue music without losing himself in it, grounding him through every stage of his journey. Finding his sound, without chasing trends. After leaving the Army in 1975, Strait returned to Texas and enrolled at Southwest Texas State University, earning a degree in agriculture while continuing to perform locally. He soon became the lead singer of the Ace in the whole band, playing honky-tonks and dance halls across the state. While many artists of the late 1970s leaned toward pop-influenced country, Strait stayed loyal to fiddle, steel guitar, and straightforward storytelling. His breakthrough came in 1981 with Unwound, a debut single that felt refreshingly traditional at a time when the genre was drifting elsewhere. Audiences immediately recognized something genuine. Strait wasn't trying to reinvent country music. He was protecting its core. That commitment placed him at the forefront of the neo-traditional country movement, proving that authenticity could still succeed on a major scale. It was the beginning of a career built not on trends, but trust. A record-breaking career, built on consistency. Over the decades, George Strait achieved a level of success unmatched in country music. With more than 60 #1 hits, he set records that still stand, releasing classics like Amarillo by Morning, Oceanfront Property, and Check Yes or No. His albums sold over 100 million copies worldwide, yet fame never altered his approach. Awards followed naturally, including multiple honors from the Country Music Association, the Academy of Country Music, and a Grammy Award. His 2006 induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame felt less like a milestone and more like a confirmation of what fans already knew. What made Strait remarkable wasn't just his chart dominance, but his consistency. Year after year, he delivered music that sounded timeless rather than dated. In an industry fueled by reinvention, Strait proved that staying true could be the boldest move of all. Private grief and quiet strength. Behind the success, George Strait's life was marked by profound personal loss. In 1986, he and Norma lost their daughter Jennifer in a tragic car accident. She was only 13 years old. The devastation reshaped Strait forever, deepening his resolve to protect his family's privacy. Following the tragedy, he largely stepped away from interviews, choosing silence over exposure. Yet the emotion found its way into his music, giving certain songs a depth that listeners could feel, even if they couldn't name it. Rather than retreat from life, the Straits honored Jennifer's memory by creating the Jennifer Lynn Strait Foundation, supporting children's charities in Texas. It was a quiet act of love, done without publicity. Through grief, Strait showed resilience not through words, but through action, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to turning pain into purpose. A legacy passed down, not performed family, has always remained at the center of George Strait's life. His son, George Harvey Strait Jr., known as Bubba, grew up far from celebrity expectations, carving his own path in professional rodeo. Bubba became a competitive team roper with the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association and later graduated from Texas A&M University. One of the most meaningful moments for Strait came in 2006, when he watched Bubba compete at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo before stepping onto the same stage to perform later that evening. It was a rare public intersection of his personal and professional worlds. That moment symbolized something deeper. Success measured not by applause, but by pride in family. For Strait, legacy was never about image. It was about raising grounded children, honoring tradition, and showing that fame never has to come at the cost of values. Speaking at last, Strait on Willie Nelson. Known for his reserve, George Strait surprised many when he finally shared his thoughts on Willie Nelson at age 73. His words were measured, respectful, and deeply sincere. Strait described Nelson as an artist who lived his songs, someone whose voice carried truth because it came from experience. He admired Willie's refusal to fit industry molds and his courage to walk away from Nashville expectations in favor of artistic freedom. Strait saw in Nelson a fellow Texan who valued authenticity above polish. He also highlighted Willie's generosity, noting how Nelson supported younger artists without seeking recognition. Coming from a man equally admired for humility, the praise carried weight. Strait wasn't offering nostalgia. He was acknowledging character. In his eyes, Willie Nelson represented not just musical brilliance, but integrity, independence, and a lifelong commitment to honesty. Two legends, one Texas spirit. When George Strait spoke about Willie Nelson as a symbol of Texas itself, it resonated deeply with fans. Both men, though different in sound and style, embodied the same spirit of independence, resilience, and respect for roots. Strait acknowledged that sharing the stage with Willie always reminded him of the history standing beside him. It wasn't competition, it was continuity. Nelson represented the road already traveled, while Strait carried that legacy forward in his own way. Together they told the story of Texas through music, one through outlaw poetry, the other through refined tradition. Strait's comments weren't grand statements. They were quiet truths spoken by someone who understands legacy from the inside. His words felt less like praise and more like gratitude, a recognition that country music's soul is carried forward by those who never forget where it began. The quiet power of George Strait's legacy. George Strait's legacy isn't defined by records alone, but by restraint, consistency, and grace. He never chased controversy, rarely explained himself, and trusted his audience to listen closely. Even in semi-retirement, his influence remains unmistakable, inspiring generations of artists who value substance over spectacle. By finally speaking about Willie Nelson, Strait didn't change how fans saw him. He deepened it. His words reflected the same qualities that defined his music: honesty, respect, and quiet strength. At 73, he didn't speak to be heard. He spoke because it mattered. And in doing so, he reminded everyone that true legends don't need constant attention. They simply leave behind work, values, and moments that endure long after the final note fades.